Okay, for part 2 of our introduction, we're going to look at stances. I've grabbed one of the Eskrima sticks so I can show you some of the angles that are the lines on the floor that won't be clear otherwise. But I want to take you through the series of stances that we do, kind of covering the fundamentals of how those stances look, or how they should look, how they should feel, what their dimensions are. Again, these are things that for a first-time student I would go over. And any time a new student walked in, I'd probably go over, but I wouldn't continue to review them every time because we only have an hour and a half to cover all the material that I seek to cover. So, the first stance that I'm going to look at here is our fighting stance, or what we call our neutral bow. Now, neutral bow seeks to put you in a position that is neutrally defensive in this. You're not really giving any specific holes to attack that way. Everything's just kind of, it's equal distance for your hands to travel whatever direction they need to block or parry whatever attack is coming in. Now the first point on this is where your targets are and where your weapons are. So my targets lie along what we call this center line here. It goes right down the middle of my body, and that's everything along the head, the spinal column, your lungs, your heart, your liver, your stomach, all of that stuff is just in straight line all the way down to the groin. That's the areas that can get damaged and hurt the most that I need to keep protected. So what we don't want to do is expose our targets this way. If I was just flat to my opponent, my targets would be exposed. What we want to do is put those targets as sideways as possible. We call this blading. Staying sideways so that those targets, in order to reach those targets, you have to go through the defenses here, or you have to go through my weapons to reach my targets. So neutral bow kind of sets up a way that we can use this from a fighting position. Everything stays protected, but at the same time we can utilize all our weapons. Now if I'm completely sideways here, then I've protected my targets well, but my weapons, to use my weapons, I don't have all four of them available. I can use my front hand, I can use my front foot, but I'm going to have to adjust a little bit to reach with the back side. So what neutral bow does is it allows us to stay as bladed as possible while at the same time able to launch with just a twist. The back hand, back foot, all four weapons that way can be engaged in the process. So the first element here of the dimensions of the neutral bow is what we call the toe-heel line. So you want your front foot to be where the toe is on one line, and on that same line, your back foot is the heel. So front toe, back heel is our toe-heel line that we're using. And that's the measurement so that you're sideways, but you can quickly, easily turn and attack there. That's the first and probably the most important of these. Now the second dimension on this is how wide this thing needs to be. So I can make my neutral bow toe-heel line like this. Can be really tall with it, or I can really spread those feet out wide, get real low, it's still toe-heel line. Alright? So the correct dimensions that I want to have is if I change my line now and I'm using the heel of my front foot, and if I drop down onto my knee, the back knee wants to come to the same line as the heel of the front foot. And you stand up from there, again, toe-heel line, front to back. That's the dimensions there of your neutral bow there. And so it is a stance that has enough space to give you a foundation, strong foundation. But also you can be mobile from here. I can push, drag, I can slide, I can move as I need to quickly and come right back to that fighting stance. Whereas if it was wider, I would still have a strong foundation. I could still punch strong, deliver a strong attack, but in order to move, I'd have to come up a little bit in order to shift around and be mobile on my feet. If my feet are too close together, then you can be real mobile, that's not a problem, but you don't have much foundation. It'll be easy to tip you over if you get hit, or if you go to throw the punch, a lot of that force is going to bounce back into you. So we need the foundation and we need mobility, and that's what neutral bow provides with this toe-heel line. And when you drop down, back knee, front heel. Comes up, that's your neutral bow. Now my feet are on a diagonal towards the front in the direction my body is facing, so they're not square this way, they're not sideways, they're right on that 45 degrees that way. And that being a good balanced position I can have, I had someone ask me once, well, doesn't that make it easy to sweep? Could they sweep the foot? Yes, they could. It would take some work. It wouldn't be an easy thing to do. You are set up to sweep, but if your foot was square, it'd be worse. It'd be even easier to pull your foot out. If your foot was sideways, it wouldn't be as easy to sweep, but it'd be a lot harder to be mobile. Back to front here. What I want, though, is the knee and the toes always need to face in the same direction. That keeps my knee protected. So, and that's true on any of these stances. I don't want my knee flaring one direction and my toes facing the other. That's always bad for the knees. I want knees over the toes, facing the same direction. In this case, 45 degrees forward here. And the height is that last dimension. I'm going to bend my knees so that if I'm standing up straight and I look down, my peripheral vision can't see my toes. So the knee's got to be flexed a little bit. Drops you down. Now you're mobile. Got a little bit of spring ready to go. There, that's neutral bow. Now for your arms, neutral bow, first one here in front is going to make a 90-degree bend. 90-degree bend there. And then the back hand comes about a fist distance away from your heart, out in front of you. And those two are in a straight line. So front hand, back hand behind it. And if in the line facing your opponent, it shouldn't be clear where that backhand is, how close it is. Is it here? Is it way back here? You ought to be obscuring a little bit where that backhand is, how close it is, because those two are in a straight line. This is a neutral position. From here, if I need to guard in this area, or over here, cover this area, if I need to go high, covering over here, or inward parry this way, I'm in the neutral spot. It's about the same distance from any of those here. And that's what makes this the neutral position, or what we call the neutral bow. That's our basic fighting stance. Most of our basics are going to be delivered from this position. All the other stances will involve some variant in a turn or a dropping of the weight from this position here. So that's the first of the stances that you want to have. Working on those dimensions, toe-heel line, dropping down, knee to the front heel. When you come up, feet should be on the 45. Coming down enough that when you look down, you want to be standing up straight though. When you look down, you can't see your toes. Hands come up, front arm 90-degree bend, back hand in front of your heart, but in a straight line out in front of, or out behind the front arm. Front arm is obscuring the back arm. And that's neutral bow.